Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit quickly on the top ones because I really want to get to the real world problems and slow down on those. For this one, vertex, is it a minimum or a maximum? Well, because it opens upward, there is a minimum, and that is your vertex. And if we look, that's at -4 and down 1, 2, 3, 4. -4, 4. Okay, so that's how you write it. And we said it opens upward. The axis of symmetry, remember, goes through the vertex. So whatever the vertex is, the x portion of it, which in this case is the -4, would be the axis of symmetry. Now, solutions. Remember, solutions are the same thing as roots, zeros, and x-intercepts. So it doesn't matter how they ask you, they're talking about these right here where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, so this one goes at -2 and at -6. So you can say that it has two solutions at -2 and -6. Okay, and the newest one is the y-intercept. So if you continue, it will go right here through 8. So that's written 0, 8. Y-intercept is where it goes, where it crosses on the y-axis. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, this one opens which way? Upward, right? So it opens upward. That means it has a minimum point, and that is at -1 down 9. -1, -9. And remember what I said about the axis of symmetry? The axis of symmetry goes through the vertex, whatever that x is, and it's also the first number on the vertex, so my axis of symmetry is x equals -1. Roots, those are right here, zeros, x-intercepts, solutions. Other, I got all tongue twisted. Other, known also as rocks. Roots, 0, x-intercepts, solutions. Okay, that's at 2 and -4, because if we count, that's -1, -2, -3, -4. So it's at 2, and there's one at -4. Okay, and the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, is right here at -8. So we would say 0, -8, because that's your y. Okay, let's go to the next one. Here we go. Which way does this open? It is opening downward. Look at the arrows. It's going to continue going downward. That means it has a maximum vertex. And that point is at 1, 4. 1, 4. Okay? And the axis of symmetry, you always look at the first number in the vertex, so that would be x equals 1, because look, it goes through 1 right here when I cut it in half. Okay? My zeros are here. Those are my x-intercepts. It's at 3 and -1. And my y-intercepts, let me change color. It crosses on the y-axis, so right here at 3. And we say 0, 3. Okay, so let's do the real world situation ones. Okay, here goes. Maybe I can make this smaller. Okay, here goes problem number 4. Okay, problem number 4 says, the graph represents the relationship between the height of an object and the time since it was launched. What conclusions can be drawn from the graph of this relationship? Okay, so height, this is the numbers on the height in feet, and this side, it talks about time in seconds, okay? So when you look at these numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 15, we're talking about seconds. When we look at these numbers up here, 200, 400, 600, 800, we're talking about feet because that's the height of the object. We don't know what it is. It could be a ball, it could be a rocket, it could be a fireworks, we don't know, okay? So it was launched right here. It took off from right here, 0 feet, 0 seconds, okay? Then it went all the way up, and right here, it got to 800 feet, a little bit more than 800 feet, and that was at about 7.5 seconds, right? Then it started coming back down, and it hit the ground at 15 seconds, right? The ground, because that would be 0 feet, so that's the ground. All right, so then now we can write stuff down. This is the max. Okay, this is where it was launched. And then this is where it hit the floor. Okay, so let's read some of the answer choices. Okay, and let's see if it's true or not. It says the object reached a maximum height of about 15 feet. Is this 15 feet? No, it's 800 feet, so that's not correct, okay? B, the object reached a maximum height of about 7.5 feet. No, 7.5 was the time. Oops, sorry. 7.5 was the time in seconds, not feet, okay? C, the object was launched from a position on the ground. Launched from the ground, yes, that is the ground, and traveled for about 7.5 seconds, okay, maybe, before reaching its maximum height of about 800 feet. Yeah, that sounds like the story we just, right? It was launched from the ground. It got all the way up to 800 feet at 7.5 seconds, and then it came back down to the ground. Okay, yes. Now let's do one more. This one right here, the object was launched from a height of approximately 800 feet. Is this where it was launched? No, that was the maximum, so that's not correct. The answer is C. All right, problem number 5. If this is a quadratic, right? It opens which way? Which way is it opening? Downward. Opens downward. Okay? Just so you know. Which inequality best describes the value of A? In the graph of y equals a, x squared plus bx plus c, if the equation models the height of the archway shown below. Well, we just said that it opens downward, so I know that my A has to be negative. A is negative when something opens downward. If it opens downward, it's going to be negative, okay? So my A needs to be negative. This one says A is greater than 0. What numbers are greater than 0? Positive numbers. So that's not it. A is less than 0. What type of numbers are less than 0? Negative numbers, right? So maybe. C says A is between 0 and 1. What type of numbers are between 0 and 1? Decimals, right? So no, that's not what I said. I said it needs to be negative, right? And then D says that A equals to 0. That's not the same thing. So the answer, even though it was a little bit tricky, is B, because they need to be negative, okay? If it opens downward, the A has to be negative. Okay, I'm gonna have to make this smaller so that we can see everything. Well, I'll just go down. Okay, it says, the graph below represents the relationship between the height of an object and the time since it was launched. What conclusion can be drawn from the graph about this relationship? Okay, so let me put it down and let's take a look at it and then start answering the question. So this object, whatever the object was not launched from 0. It was launched from 200 feet, launched. Okay? And then it goes up, 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 and it reached a maximum height of about 350, right, feet at about 4.5 seconds. And then it started coming down, 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 and then it reached the ground at 12. This is when it hit the ground. Hit the ground. Okay? So we're going to read these answer choices. A says, the object was launched from a position on the ground. Launched from the ground. The ground is right here at 0. So no. That is not true. It was not launched from the ground. It was launched from 200 feet. Okay? So it's not A. B says, the object traveled for about 12 seconds before reaching the maximum height of 200 feet. No, first of all, it did not reach 200 feet. That was not the maximum. And it wasn't at 12 seconds. 12 seconds is when it hit the ground, right? So that's not it. C says the object was launched from a height of about 200 feet. Yes, it was launched. And traveled for about 12 seconds. What else is it saying? I have to. Let's see. The object was launched from a height of 200 feet and traveled for about 12 seconds. Yes, so it was launched from 200 feet and it did travel for about 12 seconds. Okay, it was launched here and it traveled for 12 seconds and then it hit the ground. So maybe. And then D, the object traveled for about 3,600 seconds. That doesn't make sense at all. Okay, so the answer is C. Let's look at the next problem. And draw our own conclusions. So it started right here at 0. It was launched from the ground and it traveled all the way and it reached a maximum height of about 22.5 yards, because it says yards right here. So that's the ground. And then this is the maximum, and that was at about 8.5 seconds. It reached a maximum of 22.5 yards, and then it started coming down and it hit the ground at about 18 seconds. Okay, so the object reached a maximum height of about 18 yards. No, this is not 18 yards, it was 22.5. okay?